good times. Look at Banner, Mac. Congratulations, buddy.
Oh, yeah. I recently received a promotion in my real life job, so that was real nice. I didn't quite become a captain, but I did become a lieutenant, so that's good. It's nice. It's nice moving on up.
I have an idea for you. You can either take it or you can throw it right back in my face.
Okay.
First day on the job, you walk in drinking a Surge.
All right. Yeah, I'm listening.
Then everyone, out of habit, is going to start calling you Lieutenant Surge.
That was it. That was your whole plan right there?
That's a good nickname, isn't it?
Should I I'm not even going to entertain it. That's a terrible, terrible idea, but I appreciate the thought. I appreciate where your mind's at there. Now, if I were to become Lieutenant Surge, would I have to use a Raichu?
Right. This doesn't make any sense because you're a firefighter. You would need fire types.
Oh, true. I'd have to be
no, you would use water types. I'm sorry. That makes way more sense.
Good point. I'd be a Misty. Yeah, I'd be a Misty.
You do fight fire with fire, so now I'm just
That's
confused.
what everyone says. Yeah.
I guess before we get into this, though, Mac, which water type would you start with as your big boy sidekick?
Oh, the Squirtle, Wartortle, Blastoise line is my favorite, evolution.
Out of all water types?
Yeah, I love Squirtle. I love Blastoise. Wartortle's a mean-looking son of a gun, so I'm very into them. That's for sure. If second place, maybe a Gyarados because he's pretty sweet, and the work he put in with a Magikarp is really, really worth the payoff. But Blastoise for sure.
Like you wouldn't even need a pumper truck. You could just put Blastoise right on the top of like your Ford 150.
I'll tell you, I was mentioning this the other day, and you were cracking jokes at it. But traditionally, a lot of like companies within a fire department have their own individual like patch or logo.
Yeah.
And ours are like a bunch of Looney Tunes. Had Pokemon come out 80 years ago, it'd be cool to have a Blastoise.
That sounds like something that you're going to push into existence with your new job title.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, yeah! Goo! Jaws 3! Goo! King of Queens! Goo! Meryl Streep! Entertainment!
I'm Goo.
And I'm Mac.
And we are two of the same. Birds of a feather.
Oh,
we have the same powers. We do the same thing. And here we are.
I'll tell you, Billie Eilish is very talented, but sometimes her songs are very annoying. Other times, you know what, Goo? There's a song on that album, the Birds of a Feather album, which the album I can't recall the name of it. There's a song on there called Wildflower, demonstrably better than Birds of a Feather. Fantastic song. If you haven't listened to Billie Eilish, Wildflower, go listen to that and then go listen to her sing it live. Goo, today we are here discussing Captain America, Brave New World. This is the latest entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the 35th movie entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, plus 11 seasons of television on top of that. That makes this the 46th entry into the MCU.
Okay.
We are nearing 50. Goo, this is set to be the second to last movie in Phase 5. The last will be Thunderbolts. Fantastic Four first steps will kick off Phase 6. This is tracking for an $80 to $90 million opening weekend domestically, which I believe is going to be a little under what they wanted, but still pretty good. Goo, you have your hand raised.
Yes, it was projected first at 110. But
107 I saw.
What was it?
107 originally.
That's the exact same thing. I'm rounding up.
No,
okay,
don't go over.
Do phases matter anymore?
I think they will matter more once we get past or approach the next two Avengers movies, but no, not really, because it is so multiversal. But we also are more small scale at the moment, so I guess they do and they don't. I don't know. I guess the answer is no, based on my answer there.
Okay.
Goo, this does face fierce competition at the box office this weekend, up against Paddington 3, Paddington in Peru. That's in theaters as well, Goo, as your drafty Bridget Jones. That new Bridget Jones movie is on the cock and getting pretty good scores so far.
Looks like I'm right back in that movie draft.
Captain America Brave New World, formerly New World Order, is a PG-13 action, adventure, and sci-fi. Our subgenres here, action epic, adventure epic, sci-fi epic. That feels like a cop-out. And also, I don't feel like this is an epic at all. More than anything, this is a thriller or wannabe thriller. And of course, this is a superhero movie. A runtime of 118 minutes. And I have to say, one of the better parts about this movie is the pacing. It doesn't waste a ton of time. We may not be super
depending
invested
on
in
what you think is important. Yes,
we might not be super invested in what's going on necessarily, but it doesn't really waste our time in that respect. Currently on Roddy T's, this is where we get into the bad news. 51% from the critics, 78% from the audience. At 51%, this is the third worst movie in the MCU according to critics, only ahead of Quantumania and Eternals. And there's a gap there as well. The Marvels is fourth with 62%. So the critics are saying that this, Quantumania, and Eternals are the three worst MCU movies. That's just certainly not the case. That's not true.
I understand the 51%, though. I think on the whole,
I don't.
Let me explain myself. On the whole, if you are looking at this movie just as a movie, not as the 100th movie in this series of movies,
35th.
There's a lot of homework that you need to do ahead of time to know why certain things are happening or why we should care about certain things. And then
also, hold on before you
okay.
continue.
Okay.
The natural thing to say about that is if you're just watching the 35th, aka actually the 46th entry into a universe and going in blind, you're a fucking idiot.
To be fair, though, I was sitting with my wife who has seen all of these. And after the movie, I said, did you understand this, and this? And she said, no. And I understood why, because so many things are from like 2008 or from 12 years ago. They really aren't introducing a ton of new stuff. It's a lot of, let's bring this back. Let's make this a partial Hulk sequel.
I mean, that's probably the fairest criticism of it, is that it's like an Incredible Hulk 2 more than anything. But I also feel like this movie doesn't do anything bad. It is lacking high highs.
I disagree.
But it's pretty solid all the way through. It does a job. I don't think it's remotely even the discussion of being great, but this movie's pretty solid. At 78%, the audience score there, that puts it bottom 10. I think 9th or 10th lowest, but it's in a really muddied area. The two lowest, Captain Marvel at 45%, that got review bombed. And then you have Incredible Hulk at 69%. And then there's like 8 to 10 movies in the 70s that this probably fits in decently with. But I also feel like the critics are going above and beyond these days to really make a point and tell us like this Marvel universe is no good anymore. And that's just not true. Now, the bar is set so high for the MCU that I understand people being disappointed, but the quality is still there. This is not a bad movie. On Metacritic, it's a 43. That's a new record low, much lower than Quantumania, the Marvel's Eternals.
This movie feels like, what is the outer part of a sausage called? The skin? The condom. Case. This feels like the condom of a sausage. And they pumped way too much of the innards in there. And it's not appetizing. There's too much going on, and I don't think any of it really matters.
Solid meal. I think the critics have been trying to.
Your sausages with fucking weird bulbs, like bulges all over the place.
You can put a couple holes in there, let them breathe. But to counterpoint that, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the show that came out 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I don't know how long now, got a 74 on Metacritic. This is better than that.
To be fair, though, 4 of the 6 episodes of that show were really good.
I think it was 8 episodes, and I would say 4 of the 8 were really good. I think it was 8. I'm pretty sure.
I think it was 6.
All right. Well, I think you're
wrong.
I'm
going to look it up.
That show had probably higher highs than this, but this movie is much better as a whole than that show was. So for the critics to tell me that The Falcon and the Winter Soldier got a 74, which, by the way, is one of the highest ratings in the MCU, and then tell me that this movie is a 43, it's phooey. It's absolute phooey. The critics are losing it. They're losing it.
First
and I
off,
get
there are 6 episodes. Also, it's different critics. It's movie critics and TV critics.
But it's not, though. The people watching Marvel are the same critics. I get, in general, yes, but when it comes to the MCU, it's the same people reviewing this shit.
I found, but not to compare, well, actually compare these because they're pretty, it's the same characters. I thought that the television show had way more captivating characters.
Ooh,
see what I did there?
Look at that word.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I just think it had a couple high highs, and this movie definitely lacks that. Like, if you're talking Pants Tent City, Excite Bike Mania, there's not a ton in this movie.
I also think the action in the television show looked better than in this movie.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. Now you're becoming a critic.
I thought it looked pretty bad. I thought the CGI in this movie was pretty bad. I also don't appreciate having, so I would understand if Sam passes on the Falcon outfit to someone else and then he's not the Falcon anymore. But Sam is still the Falcon, but just now with the shield.
No, he's Captain America now.
But he still has wings. So we have 2 winged beasts in the air? No. I want different powers. I don't want my heroes to have the same powers out there.
No. Horse shit. 2 is better than 1. Jordan and Pippen is better than just Jordan.
But Jordan and Pippen did different things. You stop right there.
Iron Man had War Machine.
Different things.
Cap had Bucky.
And we hate War Machine. We hate War Machine.
Yeah, but we don't hate Joaquin Torres.
No, but I like him just being a guy behind the chair and then give him different powers. Don't make him fly. They do the exact same thing, but he gives him a disadvantage of giving him a fucking worse outfit.
It's okay to have 2 good things.
I don't know, because that's like 1.5 good things. The other guy isn't that great at being the Falcon.
He needs a sidekick. That's like saying Robin is unnecessary to Batman.
They do different things.
They do the same fucking things.
One just doesn't work. One was a trapeze artist. The other was just a rich orphan.
You ever see him on the fucking the pommel horse there? Come on.
I haven't.
Yeah, it's a very hypocritical argument.
No, go to X right now. Go to Instagram right now. Go wherever. Comment in the YouTube thing right now and tell me, do you want 2 Falcons, but one of them has a shield?
We're not pretending, just as we didn't when Sam was Falcon, that Falcon is leading the Avengers. Captain America is. It's okay to have your sidekick, as Captain America did, as Iron Man did.
Yes, but
Joaquin Torres is a great number 2.
Different power sets.
No. Cap and Bucky have the same power set.
Mirror power sets.
Cap and Bucky have the same power set. We like them both.
No, they don't.
Yes, they
Bucky has a cool arm.
They're both super shoulders. One's got a shield, one's got an arm.
One of them has a sweet arm.
One of them has a sweet shield.
Yeah, those are different things. Arms and shields, different. Wings and wings, same.
Different wings, different flight paths.
Yeah, worse wings. He was asking his friend to die.
Oh, God. No, this is a very hypocritical argument. I hate this. This movie is written by Rob Edwards. First of all, this movie has 5 writing credits, which I didn't know was possible. I thought 4 was the limit.
When this showed up on the screen, I said, that makes sense.
I thought 4 was the limit. You would know better than I as a SAG member.
What are you talking about? I'm SAG-AFTRA. I'm broadcasting. I don't know shit about acting or
you should.
Anything that goes into movies.
You went to art school. I just have the internet, so you should.
My art school does not exist anymore. I did not go anywhere for college.
That's fair enough. The 5 writing credits here, Goo. Rob Edwards, Malcolm Spellman, Dalan Musan, Julius Onah, who's also the director, and Peter Glanz. Rob Edwards is a notable 90s TV writer. He also was the writer on the Treasure Planet movie, Goo, and The Princess and the Frog. Hasn't had a major writing credit in many, many years. Very interesting decision here. Malcolm Spellman is a writer from Empire, one of Goo's favorites.
I do love Empire.
Soldier series and the Bel Air reboot. Dalan Musan was also a writer on Falcon and Winter Soldier. And then Julius Onah and Peter Glanz, they have writing credits. It's nothing you would know, nothing you would recognize. I think the biggest issue here is not only was this movie needed to like explain a couple things and advance things, a couple things along. It's got 5 writers, and the movie really lacks an identity. It does, round out a couple characters, but this movie in and of itself is not going to be remembered for like one thing specifically. And that's an issue. And I certainly understand why some people may not like it a ton, but it's still a solid entry.
I feel like every storyline in this movie is half-assed. That was the best noise you've ever made.
I don't agree. I agree that the leader stuff extending from the Incredible Hulk, some of it was half-assed and some of it feels forced, but in general, I think it worked. It didn't crush
I think the only thing that would have gotten a pop, and I get you have to do it for the advertising. If they held back the Red Hulk stuff and just led the breadcrumbs of like, maybe we're going to get there, maybe we aren't, I think that would have at least had some intrigue and some interest throughout the entire movie. And like one story that you're following, as opposed to like all these little side quests that the Falcon is going on.
I totally agree with you. It would have been the pants set moment of the movie. It would have been the pants set moment that this movie desperately needs. However, 46 entries into a universe, I get why that was teased ahead of time. And also it was theorized a million times over. So
but
if this movie came out in 2000
on the big screen, though, like that's way more exciting.
If this movie came out 10, 12 years ago, maybe they would have been able to hide that.
Because they showed the Hulk for Thor Ragnarok, and that would have been a great withheld too.
Well, that was 7, 8 years ago. If this came out, in the Ultron era, maybe that would have been different, but it's just not possible.
Is that what the era is called?
Yeah, yes, that time frame.
Keep in mind, let me talk, not to tip my hand too much. I don't care for Ultron. I like that more than this.
Yep. It's a better movie, and I've been higher on Ultron than you forever. Goo, again, this movie is directed by Julius Onah. The only directing credit you would recognize is The Cloverfield Paradox, which was a Cloverfield sequel that ended up being bought by Netflix. It wasn't a very good movie. So that is an issue too. Like, not only did this movie get pigeonholed a little bit, it's made by people that maybe aren't as experienced as they needed to be to make this movie, but Pixar does it, Disney does it, and Marvel does it a little bit. They are bringing people up from the minor leagues to try to move them along, and I don't mind that. Synopsis for this movie, Goo. Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, he got a promotion as well, finds himself in the middle of an international incident and must discover the motive behind a nefarious global plan. That's fine. That's solid.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, if you really wanted to talk about every part of the movie in the synopsis, it'd be 3 paragraphs long, so...
Goo, this movie stars Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson, a.k.a. Captain America.
Let me say this for him.
What do you got?
I don't blame him for any of my hard feelings towards this movie. I thought he did a very good job.
Okay, fair enough. I agree. I thought he was great. Harrison Ford as President Thaddeus Ross. He is replacing the dead William Hurt, R.I.P.
William Hurt was better. Not to compare the two. I liked William Hurt as the character more. Also, I was so distracted by his haircut the whole movie. It was not a presidential haircut. That's not the hair a president has. It was too short on the sides. It had a little bit of like a balding area right here and then long on the top. Let's clean this up. We're America. Let's clean this up.
As a baldman, I think I'm going to refrain from comment there. I liked Harrison Ford's President Ross. However, it didn't feel like, and it's supposed to feel like, it didn't feel like a changed Thaddeus Ross. It felt like a brand new character. And so that's a little bit of an issue. It didn't feel like it was Thaddeus Ross that underwent a change and he was changed by the events of the last 15 years. It literally felt like a brand new character.
It just felt like a new character. And then, once again, we've seen the movies, but if you haven't been following these movies, and say if you didn't even know the first Hulk movie was in this universe, you're sitting back just going, what has this guy done wrong in the past? What is he trying to make amends for? Why does everyone hate him?
Again, I get the sentiment there, but if you're going in to the 35th movie and 46th entry blind like that, you're a fucking idiot.
I guess I'm a fucking idiot. I've never seen the other movies.
Dude, Danny Ramirez as Joaquin Torres.
I liked it.
Yeah. Very good addition.
Although I will say this. I think their hideout, their Captain America lair, really dumb looking, really stupid looking.
Why? A lot of sunlight, a lot of natural sunlight.
Yeah, but they have like that giant shield that goes over the window with the big star on it. I wonder where you're hiding.
Well, it's not really a hiding. Everyone knows that Sam Wilson is Captain America, so I don't think he can hide.
Well, then why didn't, I'm not going to say who the bad guy is. Is it even in here? Is the bad guy in this? Is it in the IMDb?
Yep.
Oh, it is? Okay. Why didn't fucking Green Brain there just go and blow up the building or something?
Well, because he's not trying to kill Captain America. Did you see this movie?
Use the probabilities. There were so many times in this movie, and every one of these were like delivered so stale of like, you're gonna die, Cap. There were so many of those in this movie.
I think we just figured out what the issue is for you in this movie.
Yeah.
You were traumatized from like 10th grade pre-calc, and that this really bothered you that they were throwing probabilities out there.
Oh, no. I love stats. I'm a big stats guy.
Listed stats is different than probabilities.
No, I love.
Math.
Oh, well, no, but you're still doing, to make the probabilities, you're still doing stats.
I think you have it backwards. That's my point.
A rectangle is a square and a square is a rectangle, Mac.
Hold on. A rectangle is not a square. A square is a rectangle.
A rhombus is very similar.
A rhombus is diamond shaped.
Right.
Yes.
One might say that two of those corners are acute. Stop being obtuse.
Shira Haas is Ruth Bat Seraph. This is the security lead for Thaddeus Ross. Let me just say this. I'm not mad at the actress for being so little. She couldn't have been less believable as someone working a security detail and a former widow. What'd she weigh? 83 pounds?
I don't want to be mean. That's not who I am anymore. I'm a positive boy. I'm always on the up and up around here. Glass is more than half full. It's 80% full. I did not care for her character in this movie. I didn't care. Yeah. I don't know what direction she was given. The lines obviously stunk, but I don't understand the casting of this woman.
I didn't mind the acting part of it. It was the fact that she's playing this role. The casting part was for sure the issue. Carl Lumbly is back as Isaiah Bradley. And then, of course, Goo just mentioned him. Tim Blake Nelson reprising his role as Samuel Stearns from The Incredible Hulk in 2008, I believe that movie was, a.k.a. the leader. He's now the full-blown villain, the leader, who's pretty popular in the comics, I guess. He was fine. He had to do a job. Like, I can't, like, his villain was not good, but the way he portrayed it was fine because I think he just had to do it that way, you know?
Like, top of the head right now, top of my big gushy brain, just like him, I'd have him in, if there's the tiers of villains, I know that we've done this in the past. If there's 5 tiers, you probably have him, like, second to the bottom. Like, he isn't, like, he's not terrible.
He wasn't an abomination.
Nailed it. Let's end the podcast. But I will say this. He wasn't great.
No, he wasn't great. Totally.
And he's overshadowed by the monster that he's trying to create.
And I think that's a common theme with this movie. And again, like I said, I didn't think anything was really bad. But on the flip side, nothing's really great either. It's just right in the middle.
Get Matt Katzen at 38 hot dogs.
Finishing out the cast here, Goo. Giancarlo Esposito is Sidewinder, who was a secondary villain. He was good in his 2 scenes.
Hear me out, though. You have Giancarlo Esposito. Just make him the villain.
I know he's old, though. He's old as fuck.
He's old. So how about this? Hear me out. You ready for
that
this?
Old man distended belly.
I was going to say, hear me out.
Okay.
Get rid of his action scenes and just let him talk. He's a menacing man.
Yeah. Zosha Roquemore as Layla Taylor. This was one of the White House folk. It was kind of like Sam's go-between the White House and the president there. William Mark McCullough is Commander Dennis Dunphy. I think that was Sam's like go-to guy, that he was the one looking after the pills and shit. And then Goo, notably here, WWE star Seth Rollins, aka Colby Lopez, was supposed to be like a sidekick villain in this movie, and his part got cut out. So some people were disappointed in that.
I hear that.
We also have a couple characters in here that are kind of spoilers, so we'll say that.
So we'll hold back on it. Mac, I know that you didn't feel this way. I thought most of this movie looked really ugly. I didn't care for how it was shot. I don't care for a lot of the CGI. The Red Hulk looks terrible in a lot of scenes. And I also don't like how I thought that the flight looked okay sometimes, but then it looked really blue screen other times.
I didn't have an issue with the Red Hulk or most of the CGI or the way Falcon and Cap were flying. I did have an issue with a lot of the cinematography and the way they chose to shoot most of the other movie, though. There was an awful lot of close-up shots of characters talking, and it really lacked background and wider stuff to really give you some context. And that to me felt like budget reasons, like they didn't have the budget to paint out the bigger picture, and that was a little annoying at times.
Also, I think let me tell you what I think, is that I think that this went through so many reshoots, so many rewrites, that
I
by
don't
the
think
time
this movie did.
I think it did, if you look at the budget, but I believe that by the time they got to this final project, they had already blown so much money and they said, we have what we have.
All right, fair enough. Goo, before we get into the gauntlet, I just wanted to point out a couple things about this leader, Tim Blake Nelson's character. He's supposed to be like the smartest dude on the planet that isn't maybe a Reed Richards, or they're probably on the same level. I don't really know how that thing really works out in comics. Obviously, we haven't gotten Reed in this universe yet. A couple of the things he does in this movie seemed incredibly inefficient. Like, why did he travel all the way to that naval base to kill the soldier guy working on the pills instead of just preventing that call from happening? You'll never be able to tell Cap. Well, you could have just prevented that phone call in the first place. Like,
he
that
also
seemed
talked with
really,
Cap about it. He spoke with Cap about it.
Seems really, really unnecessary.
You can't tell Cap. I'm going to tell Cap.
There was a couple things like that just seemed, for someone that's super bright and can see most of the future, that seemed incredibly
It's kind of like one of those things too, though, of like everyone can't claim to be the strongest Avenger, so everyone can't be the
that's true.
smartest
That's
man in
true
the world.
too. Like even if someone says they are, some of it is some of them is them like really gassing themselves up.
I would love a line in one of these movies of someone saying that. I don't think you're that. I feel like you're gassing yourself up right now. Shall we do the gauntlet?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Fun factor. I had a lot of fun. Not a ton of. Actually, I did. I liked the early scenes with Sam, Joaquin, and Isaiah Bradley. I liked those, which like that made me understand why I wanted Isaiah Bradley in this movie, because I also felt like they wasted him.
Yeah, he's more of a pawn than anything. I get that. I agree. To me, the fun factor in this movie is Sam and Joaquin's relationship, and they really pick up where like Bucky and Steve left off, where Sam and Bucky left off. It's a lot of that same type of stuff. So if you like that, you're really going to like the relationship between the two.
I really didn't like the action. I'll tell you, I did not enjoy it. I don't know. Just none of it did it for me.
All right. Well, maybe you just like having your feet on the ground. You're a little afraid to fly.
That's what it is. I'm so afraid to fly. I've already told you that so the NHL Four Nations face-off, they put out a graphic. They had Canada emerging from the leaves. They had Finland or Sweden holding a shield. They had Finland on a lion. And then they had Team USA swooping down, holding a hockey stick as an eagle brought them down to the earth. Mac, I ask you, which would you go on? Which would you pick?
The eagle transport would be dynamite. Never face traffic, just hovering above all things. That'd be fucking great.
Wouldn't you be afraid of falling?
No, I'd have some sort of safety valve in there, lock my hand in or something. I don't know. If falling's a possibility, I guess I go lion.
I guess if I have the trust of the lion, I'm going to take the lion.
Yeah, but then where are you going to store the lion?
The lion can store me wherever he wants.
Like you're just going to put the lion in your garage?
No, that'd be cruel.
The bird can just hang out in the tree.
Well, the lion can also hang out in my savannah. You thought about that?
Say it. That's how folks say that word.
Satisfactor. I was not satisfied by this movie.
I did really like seeing Red Hulk. Something about Hulks. I like seeing Hulks and versions of Hulks. Seeing Cap have like a Wakandan suit and some of that technology integrated was good. But as far as a satisfactor goes for a Marvel movie, this was really lacking.
That should go on the DVD cover. I like seeing Hulks and versions of Hulks. Borometer, it was short enough, but I really wish that they picked it and sticked it. Like really pick what they wanted this movie to be and just have it be that. I thought it was just, they tried too many different things and I'm not sure how much of it was great.
There was pretty one like clear thing going on in this movie. I don't know, maybe you were weighing different things, but I felt like there was some bore because the stakes never felt super high, but the pacing of the movie was actually pretty good.
Waterworld, is this better or worse than Waterworld? I will take Waterworld.
This is better. But if you're talking rewatchability, which brings you to our next thing, I'd go Waterworld.
Halloween, will this wane over time? Yes, and I don't have it super high right now, but I don't know. I don't think I'm going to hate this movie. but I definitely don't
again,
like it.
there's like nothing really bad in this movie. It's just not super fun. It's solid. And to that respect though, like there's not a lot that you're going to come back to this for. However, I don't think it's going to drop much because we are ranking 35 things. So we kind of have an idea of where this fits in each other's rankings, but yeah, there's not going to be much to come back to here.
Pants Tent City. Excite Bike Mania. What from this movie got you going? The only thing that would have gotten me going was given to us in the trailers. So you're just sitting back going, all right, give me the Red Hulk, I guess.
Yeah, it really lacks the pants tent moment. And apparently Red Hulk, he can sort of incinerate things. We didn't get a lot of that. Like it just needed a standout scene, something that would, be a good 2-minute YouTube video. And there's really nothing like that in this movie.
Plemonade. When life gives you plemons, you make lemon plemonade. And I agree with you. Danny Ramirez was very good in this. I enjoyed who played Isaiah Bradley was Carl Lumbly. Lumbly? Yeah. I enjoyed him. I thought I don't like how they used his character, but I thought he was good in it.
Yeah, agreed on him, but more so with Danny Ramirez as Joaquin Torres. He feels like a natural fit in this universe in that role. He is simultaneously able to pull off the funny moments in the busting ball stuff with Sam, and also did well in the emotional moments. So I really like him.
Everyone can't bust balls though.
Well, and these two supposed to.
If we're all busting balls, and there's not going to be any balls less to bust. That's the motto of this podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
Max Credit Union. Who are you giving credit to?
I got to give it to Anthony Mackie. He's done a really nice job making this character his own. Steve Rogers was Captain America for so long. Chris Evans is known for being Captain America. But I really like how they've molded this character into, Anthony Mackie, Sam Wilson's version of it. And there's a nice little line of dialogue in this movie talking about how, Steve was someone that they look to as a hero, but Sam's someone they look up to, they're inspired by, someone they can see themselves in. And it's a nice, delineation between the two characters.
For those of you tardy to the Mac and Goo party, we rate everything on a 40 hot dog rating system. Mac, I shall go first, and I will just say this. I don't think I cared for this movie. I did not like how it was shot. I did not like the CGI. I did not like the action. I found most of the dialogue to be pretty stale. I do like how, yes, Anthony Mackie, Sam Wilson, is a common man that he is now trying to take over this Captain America mantle. But other than that, so much of this movie just felt like it was going nowhere. And there's not enough memorability, that's not a word, not enough memorable parts of this movie, memorable storylines from this movie, characters from this movie. They keep on bringing back these characters from older movies that we've already gotten them, and I don't know how much I need them in my future. Thunderbolt Ross felt like a completely different character. And if you didn't remember him, you're saying, why does everyone hate this guy? What are we trying to get redemption for? And I just don't think any of the payoffs from this movie was necessarily worth my time. 24 hot dogs.
Oh, lost you for a second there.
You want my hot dog score again?
Yes, please.
24 hot dogs.
Oh, wow. Maybe barely floating, sinking. Wow. Okay. All right. So that's, all right. That's lower than me. Goo. I recognize this movie does not have high highs. I probably fall short of the expectations we had a few months ago. It is a wildly predictable plot with pretty low stakes, in part because we knew so much about it already. I did really like Harrison Ford's President Ross. However, he absolutely feels like a different character. And again, not a changed Thaddeus Ross.
I just shaved my mustache for election purposes.
Danny Ramirez is Joaquin Torres. Again, a great sidekick. That said, I didn't care for Shira Haas's sidekick character of Ruth. She just wasn't great. I don't know. Again, I had a real issue with how tiny she was. She looked like she was 4'10", 75 pounds. Ultimately, this movie was trying to copy the blueprint of The Winter Soldier And in some respects, it succeeded. Like, it's in that same vein. It wants to be a thriller on that level in the worst way. Like, even if you came away really liking this movie, and I did like the movie, it's just a poor man's version of that, or maybe a working man's class version of that. It just doesn't have the highs, the mystery, or the intrigue that was stirred up 12 years ago, 10 years ago from that movie, because we are so deep in this universe. So I have this at 30 hot dogs. Maybe it'll come down a dog or two. It's my number 28 MCU movie, and it's in that same range as Captain America: First Avenger, the first Thor. Right above these three movies is Far From Home. So it's not going to be anyone's favorite movie. I feel like and this is the part I'm not understanding is why so many people aren't liking the movie. I can get, not loving the movie, but not liking it is bizarre to me.
Yeah, so I would have it right around where the television show is, but I love myself some Bucky. I thought Bucky was great on the television show. The issue with the show is that once it became just Sam's show, that's when it kind of fell apart. In the show, you had Bucky, Zemo, and U.S. Agent that were all great characters. No one in this movie is a great character.
I don't know. I think both Sam and Joaquin are great characters. So I disagree with you there.
Once again, I also think the action in the television show on Disney Plus looked better than what was in the movie as well.
I don't agree with you there either, but that's probably the difference between 24 and 29:30 right there.
Have you thought about buying glasses, you old fuck?
2020, motherfucker.
You probably have better eyesight than I do, actually.
No glasses, no braces. Fucking
don't bring up the braces. Look,
premium human right here.
Yes. I have braces for the 5th time right now. Whoop-de-doo, Mac.
To be fair,
this one, what was that?
To be fair,
I
was given a retainer for my lower teeth when I was like 16 or 17. I was supposed to wear it every night in bed before going to bed. I don't know, for like a year. I didn't do that, so still a little crooked.
I feel like the second time I had braces, I broke a brace on the top from chewing on a paperclip. That was a bad idea.
Yeah.
And then the third time I lost a bottom brace because I was eating Now and Laters.
Oh, I do love a Now and Later, but I get that.
They're saying
them bitches get stuck.
Yeah, they're saying to you, hey, you got to give up Now and Laters for 6 months. And I'm like, that ain't happening.
Now,
that ain't happening now or later.
I'm stumbling upon this as we're talking about it. Was it called Now and Later because it would get stuck in your teeth and you could also enjoy it 4 hours later?
Get stuck in your mustache and you can just start going right up in there.
Go! Spoilers!
So just one thing. You mentioned Captain America: Winter Soldier. We have now gotten a show and a movie that really wants to be Captain America: Winter Soldier. And neither are it.
Okay, but riddle me this, Stu. Why did the critics rate the show as highly as Winter Soldier, but this
Which show?
Worse?
I'm saying Secret Invasion.
Oh,
Secret Invasion wanted to be Winter Soldier.
That's not true. There was too many.
I think with both of them, they both went for gasps and guffaws.
Now you're shoehorning Secret Invasion into this conversation.
I think they're pretty similar. I think they're pretty similar in their effectiveness. They're not very good.
It's different.
No, Sam Jackson made out with an alien, and I like that.
Spoilers. Goo!
Yeah.
This movie introduces adamantium for the first time into our MCU. And we also had a quote from someone, it might have been Feige, over the last couple of weeks, talking about how the X-Men are going to continue to be sprinkled in over these next few movies so that when we do get an X-Men movie, they're not all brand new to us. Yeah. I like that idea. I think that's better than introducing 12 new characters in one movie. The whole thing that makes this movie go is stolen adamantium at the beginning of the movie. So they used it, didn't use it a ton, but this whole thing with Celestial Island and Tiamat is that is where adamantium is.
Oh, they finally answered what's up with that giant thing in the ocean.
Yes, they did. I don't know. We'll get to that in a second. I guess. The two spoiler-ish casting notes here, Goo. Sebastian Stan shows up as Bucky Barnes in a scene where they needed a pep talk and Cap no longer exists, so Bucky Barnes fills that role.
Future Senator Bucky Barnes. Or Congressman. Are those the same thing?
No, much different. There's 100 senators, 2 per state, and congressmen there's like 450 or something like that.
I feel like they both do the same thing.
Congressman goes by population. That's how many congressmen you'd get per state. Senate, there's 2 every state.
All I know is that both are just trying to pound you and take your money. Am I right? Politics. Don't get me started.
Yeah, I'm going to back off from that. Liv Tyler pops up in here at the end of the movie, back again as Betty Ross for the first time since 2008, talking to her pops.
I do like that they did not use her in that final scene with the cherry blossoms. I thought they were going to use her as like the let's calm him down as the Red Hulk thing. I will also say I do like how Sebastian Stan was doing a press junket for his 2 movies that he might win Oscars for, Golden Globes. And they said to him, so are you going to be in Captain America Brave New World? And he's like, no, I'm in Thunderbolts. And they're like, and then he's like,
sure about that. It is interesting, and I made this point a few weeks ago, that the first 2 movies post Deadpool and Wolverine, which was sort of an interim in and of itself, is the 2 characters featured in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I thought was a real subpar show, and they're really leaning on those 2 characters. But it's nothing against the characters.
2 subpar movies then. Let's go.
Goo, one big thing I have, or maybe the only real intriguing thing I have from this movie, is the possibility that the leader has been fucking around for a while and has been pulling the strings behind certain things. And it's been pointed out on the internet that he's the quote unquote buyer in this movie. There was also a buyer featured in Quantum Mania. So I wonder how many strings he's been pulling. I wonder how aware he is of certain things, if he's aware of an impending incursion that he implies at the end.
Isn't Sharon Carter also a buyer?
She was also a buyer. That is correct.
So maybe are we all just buyers?
In one way or another, I guess so.
Oh, let me also, the post-credit scene I thought was so incredibly stupid. This guy, Brainiac over here, not the real Brainiac, different character. He's telling Sam Wilson, who has already been involved in a global space adventure type of situation, he was snapped away by an alien, that there are other creatures from outside this Earth. Yeah.
He says the others. He says he's discussing potential threats to this Earth. Now, the leader still lives on this Earth, so I think he doesn't want the Earth to necessarily go away.
Like, you're so stupid. You don't even know that there's others. And it's like, of course we know there's others, man. Thanos was just here.
But so that's why he's more talking about an incursion than just an invasion, right? So that's a different thing that we're going to be getting into in this next phase of Marvel movies, is incursions that they've been teasing since the second Strange movie, and which is certainly different than a like single powered, super powered guy like Thanos coming to the planet.
I don't know, man.
Good. Let's run through this real quick. Thaddeus Ross at the beginning of this movie is elected president. We are roughly 2 or 3 years post the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. We learn that the leader has been manipulating everyone that's involved in this plot for a while, ultimately to embarrass it or ruin Thaddeus Ross, primarily through this mind control technology, which is not great, but it's also like something this character would have to do.
That's what I hated about this movie. I hate mind control. That is phase 1 bullshit. I do not want mind control.
That's why I rated this movie just like First Avenger and Thor. It's in that same range for me.
I hate mind control, and it was so forgettable that I forgot all about it. And get it out of my face.
I don't know how else you expect a character like the leader to control people then, though. Like, explain what do you want him to do? So that's just the way he has to go about it. We learn that Ross has been using the leader for the last 15 or 16 years to get to where he's at, with the promise that the leader, aka Stearns, will be pardoned. He goes back on that, of course, which sets this whole plan into motion. Sam and Joaquin foil that original plan, so he has to swerve and turn himself in, which I guess is what is going to bring the Red Hulk out. I didn't necessarily understand that either. During that process, Joaquin is critically injured in that, I guess that's the best action piece of the whole movie, but it wasn't great. That Red Hulk moment would have been really cool if we had no clue it was going to happen, even if the internet had theorized it.
Or if they just didn't show it in the trailers. We knew down deep in our plums that this was going to happen. But we didn't need it ahead of time.
I also felt like, and this was a little bit of a swerve, which I did like, I thought Ross knew he had that ability in him this whole time, and it turns out he did not know, and Stearns has been poisoning him for X amount of years and has been trying to get that to come out. So I did like that little twist we got. We got Bucky popping up in here for a little pep talk, and it really underscored that even though Sam doesn't have the super soldier serum, he is a great pick to be Captain America, because him and Steve Rogers were both like eternally optimistic people and trying to see the best in people, which I like that little thing. Sam ultimately at the conclusion of this movie talks Thaddeus Ross down, Red Hulk down, saves the day. Ross and Stearns get taken to the raft goo. We haven't seen the raft in a long time. Was it Civil War we last saw the raft?
Civil War.
So it's been quite some time. We do learn that the treaty that Ross was trying to ratify does get ratified. So there is temporary peace on Celestial Island for the time being. But I am also wondering what's going on in the raft. Who's there? Zemo's still there? Are there other characters there that the leaders might team up with, or Ross might team up with? He might be. I don't know.
I don't think Zemo went there at the end of the Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I have no idea. He could be.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I have no clue. I'm
You
just
think
curious
Ant-Man's
as
still
to
there?
who might be on the raft. I mean, they're showing us the raft for a reason, obviously. And then we get to the post-credit with the leader teasing that incursion. I don't know. I didn't mind revisiting the raft. I almost feel like they should probably use it more. To Goo's point, at the top of the spoiler section, we finally get a little bit of a resolution to Celestial Island / Tiamat, which is both good and bad, because we didn't really get a resolution. They're just finally addressing it. This world will continue to fight over adamantium. It'll be a power struggle. I also do like that the presidency now, we learned that Ross gives up the presidency. So that's a little bit, a little bit of a mystery. We've now had two major changes recently. Secret Invasion had Dermot Mulroney was the president. Now it's Ross. Now we don't know who it is.
President Dr. Doom.
It also seemed, Goo, very intentional to me that the conversation around adamantium heavily involved Japan. And we know Japan is heavily involved in what formed Wolverine.
Wolverine stories,
I felt that was pretty intentional. So I do like a little bit of the groundwork being laid there.
Do you have any other thoughts on this movie?
No, that's it. Solid movie. I probably will never rewatch it. I'm having a hard time figuring out why people hated it.
You know what we should have done is at the top, because I think a lot of people are questioning whether or not they want to see this in the movie theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Should they go to the movies?
I think this is a borderline one. You're gonna have to see this before the next phase, I guess, but I wouldn't necessarily pay hard-earned American dollars to go see it.
Let's get into MacSack.
And MacSack could be anything. It could be a boat. And Mac, we have two more Marvel movies coming up this year. On May 2nd, we have Thunderbolts Asterisks. And then in July, we have the Fantastic Four. And I can tell you, I'm not lying, people. Going into this movie, this was at the bottom of my excitement out of the three.
Yeah, you and I both, I think, probably. Well, I think you're more excited for Thunderbolts, and I'm more excited for Fan Four Stick.
No. I'm more excited. So Fan Four Stick is going to be so much more important. I think I'm going to have more fun with Thunderbolts Asterisks.
Asterisk. I'm expecting to have a really fun ride with Thunderbolts. So I am looking forward to that, but I am certainly looking forward to Fantastic Four First Steps more because of its implied importance in the next iteration of this MCU.
Let me also ask you this, and you're a bit of a forecaster, I would say. So let's say that Captain America does make $100 million in its opening weekend domestic.
It might.
Even with school vacation coming up next week, do you see a giant drop-off?
No, this will probably have a strong 2 or 3 weeks. There's not much competition. I do think it's going to ultimately be a disappointing box office compared to the MCU that we've seen. But at the same time, at least it's like still going to make its money back, unlike the DCU movies or the Sonyverse movies. So it'll still be all right. This isn't like a franchise killing, bad movie.
where can the folks find us?
You can find us on Twitter and on Instagram at Mac and Goo Podcast. I guess I should get used to calling it X these days. On every other platform, we are Mac ampersand Goo. It's Mac Shift 7 Goo. That includes Facebook, Stitcher, TuneIn, Castbox, Spreaker, Google Play, iHeartRadio. We're on Spotify, but more importantly, we're on Apple Podcasts. Get on there, rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars. If you do that, we'll get you a free Mac and Goo t-shirt from the folks over at Watertown Sportswear. Watertown Sportswear at 34 Mount Aubrey Street in Watertown. WatertownSportswear.com, expert screen printing and embroidery.
tpublic.com merch. Check us out on next Goose Day. At some point during the day, there is a holiday on Monday, so let's see how the schedules play out. But this upcoming Sunday night is the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary special. So because of that, we have a little fun game that we will create and play with you next week.
Bang.
Bang. So, Tuesdays are Goose Days. I abuse kangaroos.
Bye.
Burton.
Please flip the cassette over to side B to continue the adventure.
Now it's time for girls jumping on trampolines.